Kids, welcome back. Well, it's another happy Sunday, and Cookie he jumps up and he's gonna be like a Maymay, my little Maymay, who's hiding up by the couch because she's upset that I've got Coog again. So we better let him go. Happy Sunday. We got another true story for you. It's gonna be. It's gonna be. It's gonna be. It's gonna be on bullets. Bullets can be positive and it can be negative, depending on whose hands they're in. Okay? Just remember that. It was with Bro and me. I was 9, 7, 8, 9. He was 7. We were in Pluckerman, New Jersey. My second third grade. I previously spoke on that, but that was the one where I cornered the mouse because I was a mouse. I killed mice. I only killed one rat, but they ate the corn. They ate the grain for the chickens. We lived on a 5-acre chicken farm in Pluckerman, New Jersey. Probably never heard of Pluckerman, New Jersey. In fact, you got to ask yourself, how did they possibly even get that name, Pluckerman, New Jersey? Well, apparently Grandpa says this wasn't the only chicken farm. There was chicken farms on all around us, and apparently these chicken farms. I'm thinking Pluckerman, New Jersey. Who comes up with these names? Did somebody come by that was in charge of making names for towns and he saw a bunch of these men? They were all plucking the chickens, and they said, look at the men plucking them. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm only guessing. That would be the only logical thing Uncle Martin could think of, how they could come up with Pluckerman, New Jersey. On a 5-acre chicken farm. You couldn't make that up if you wanted to. So how it works, I'm staying with the thumbnail, bullets. I was 9, and the only thing I knew about bullets was that you had to put them in a gun, and otherwise they'd be okay, you know. But no, kids, no, not necessarily. They can be definitely dangerous. Again, whose hands they're in. So it was one day. It was kind of cold. I was feeding the fire outside. It was about half an acre from the house. It was a 65-gallon steel drum, one of the steel ones, and they always, for some reason, Grandpa always had fire going in there because I don't know, there's woods, there's a bunch of woods in New Jersey, and the trash, they were burning trash, which you can't do anymore. It's illegal. You can't even, I don't even think you can burn leaves anymore in New Jersey or anywhere, right? Are people still burning leaves? Somebody write me a note on that. So it's kind of, I'm standing around this barrel. I'm feeding it fire. I got some wood and I put some wood in there, and it's raging pretty nicely. And well, bro comes running around. I guess there was some weeping willow trees. There was cherry trees. There were some pine trees. Those are the trees. I'm just trying to give you a layout as he's running from the garage, and because right next to the garage was Grandpa. Grandpa was a barber, the one seater, and he, I guess he was trimming somebody's hair, and and by the way, when you're a barber, you're supposed to listen. excuse me, you're supposed to listen to the people that come in to get a haircut, okay? And I noticed that with Grandpa. He had a lot of, I don't want to say old, but he had a lot of people with more experience always sitting in the chairs waiting to get their haircut. And, I got to watch now and then, and I always saw every now and then a person with less experience come in, and he said, "I only want this much off." And he had kind of longer hair, about okay. This is like 1963, 63 going to 64. So long hair really wasn't in. Beatles weren't even here until 64. So you had shorter hair. And this kid had about half the length of what Uncle Martin has now, which was long hair, by the way. Half my day. So I saw him come in, and I was standing by the door, and he says to Grandpa, he was up next in the chair. I guess the guys they were all saying, "No, we're going to wait. You can get in the chair." So the guy gets in the chair. And I remember he's looking in the mirror, and he's saying, "I just want that much off." And Grandpa says, "Okay." And he gets the shears, and he goes, whoop, 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 whoop. And the guy has like a crew cut. They call it a crew cut. And he's very upset. My grandfather says, "Oh, you got to pay me my money." So he got his money, and the guy says, "I'm never coming back here again." My grandfather said, "Okay." So I asked my grandfather, I said, "Hey, Grandpa, that guy said he only wanted that much off, and you didn't even leave that much on his head." I said, that was negative." He said, "He got his hair cut the way it should be." See, when you come from Italy, like my grandfather did, he had a certain way of thinking, which all you kids know about your grandparents. They have a certain way of thinking. Your parents have certain ways, and guardians have a certain way of thinking. As you go further back, people have different ways of thinking. Okay, I'm going to get back to the situation here. So where the barbershop is, there's a garage, and the garage is full of goodies. I mean, all kinds of stuff that kids would just love to get through. And Grandpa says, "No, I don't want you going through any of this stuff." So I remember going through the drawers, and I'd always find, lures, because I was a fisherman. And I said, "Grandpa, could I have these guys?" "No, you can't have them." And so I knew he was, well, anyway. I guess Bro got one day there where he was helping him clean up, and I knew that, and that was the day that I was around the fire, feeding the fire, the 65-gallon steel drum. So Bro comes running, saying, I got, Grandpa said I could have this," and I turned around and said, "Yeah, well, what did Grandpa give you, man?" And he says, and he shows me, well, some 22 bullets, and I knew what a 22 bullet was, because I was a hunter. Not that I ever had anything to shoot, but I was a hunter. I had a slingshot, and I saw other people go out shooting and stuff, and I knew what a 22 bullet was. So Bro has these bullets in his hand, saying, "Look what I got." I said, "You don't. Where'd you get those?" "Oh, I was cleaning out the drawers for Grandpa, and he says I could have whatever I wanted." I said, "Really? Did he say you could have that?" He says, "Yeah, I could have whatever I wanted in the drawers." I said, "Wow, that's pretty." I said, "No, I said, Bro, I don't think that's a good idea, having those bullets. I think you should go back and put them back in the drawer where you found them." He says, "No, no, I want to see." He wanted to take the tops off, and we watched a lot of, what do you call those, Western movies. We were from Arizona. We were cowboys, but we came to New Jersey. We still were cowboys in our heart. And you know how they lined up the gunpowder, and you light it, and that's what they did. So he saw one of those movies, I guess, and he says that's what he was going to do. I said, "No, Bro, no, that's dangerous. You can't do that. I think you just better get rid of those bullets right now." So Bro said, "Okay," and he went over to went over to the 65-gallon steel drum, and he threw them in. And I just knew at 9 years old that that should be okay, because you got to put them in a gun. To be concerned about them, that's all. To be concerned, you got to go in a gun. Well, so it was cold. It was cold. So we both had our back to the barrel, and we hear, oh wow, we heard at least 7-11 boom boom booms, bing bam boom. Yeah, it was about boom 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 boom. Yeah, about between 7 and 11 booms, and so we turn around and we look at the. By the way, there was no holes in that prior to Bro throwing those bullets in there, right? So now we look and we see all these holes. In fact, they came right through the steel, and you can now see the fire. Before you had to get close to look in. Now you didn't have to. You can see them right through the holes. And I'm looking, I'm thinking, man, we are very fortunate, because if that went through that steel, Uncle Martin and Bro might not be around to be telling this little story. That's why it's very important, kids, that you never do something like my bro did, all right? But I said in the past, he's like a little Leave It to Beaver kind of guy, and you're going to have that in your family sometimes. So while we're admiring all these holes that are now appeared in front of our eyes, I had this feeling, you know, empaths, how I said we're all empaths. We can feel things, and we're telepathic, and we got telepathy and empaths when we hone it correctly. And by the way, I thought that I was a really, really strong empath, okay, pretty much all my life, which I am, as you are also. But there are people that are even more empaths than Uncle Martin, and I just ran into one. I got a friend. Her name is Rosalinda. Fantastic gal. She's really a true light bearer, let's say. And I told her to look at one of my episodes, and I said, I think you should go check out, because she teaches kids. And I said, well, I think you got a perfect time, because she never saw any of my episodes. So she says, I really don't have time. I said, but you got to check out episode 10A. It's what do you remember? Kids, what do you remember? So I remembered, I thought it was drowning at 3, but no, I had to say, I was 22 months. I was 22 months old, so I had to do an episode on that, 10A. So I thought it would be perfect for her. And I said, go to 10A. And so, no, she didn't go to 10A. She didn't even go to 11. 11 is pretty funny. What happens if the worst scenario, episode 2 was if you peed your pants. That was 2. 11 is what happens if, do number. You poo your pants. How do you get out of that? Episode 11. So she could have gone to that one even. Missing 10, go to 11. No. She goes to episode 12. 12, justification. Well, I do have in the beginning to where my Uncle Bo, he caught me, my hands in a glove compartment, and he told me a story of what I don't even remember. I wasn't even 1 year old, and I got into my diaper, all right, and he says I was going to town, and that's the one. And she said she got to episode 12 and she couldn't even finish it because of what I was doing. I said, what I was doing? You were eating poo. I said, really? She said, I'm an empath. I can't handle that. I said, you're an empath and you couldn't handle that? I wasn't even thinking of empaths, you guys. I hope I hurt anybody's feelings in episode 12. But she's an empath, and she couldn't get to that. Well, she got to that story. She couldn't go any further. And I'm thinking, and then I said, you couldn't even get any further. She says, yeah, I couldn't even watch Lassie. I was crying with Lassie. My dad would have to, I was in tears. My dad would have to all the time coming into the room and take me out of the room because I was crying. I said, Lassie? You couldn't watch Lassie? And then, kids, I've been thinking about it. What episode could it have been? What could it have been? Um, was it when Joey got when Joey Timmy names Timmy got stuck in a mine? Could have been that? He fell in a mine. He never did fall in a well, by the way. There's a big joke about Timmy falling in a well. He never fell in a well. It was actually Lassie that fell in a well. So I don't know how that joke got ever out there. Could it have been the rabid dog that he let out of the cage? The rabid dog. Maybe she was crying in that. Maybe it was that crazy elephant from the circus. Could it have been that one? Could it have been? I don't know. It was like when he had the airplane and the glider and he almost went off the cliff. Could she have been crying at that one? Could it have been when the burning house and Timmy was running to save the lady and he passed out? Could it have been that one? I mean, what kind of empath? She was in tears and watching him. Was it when Lassie got in that bear trap and he came back limping? Could it have been that one? Or he had that high fever and he had measles. Nah, I don't think so. Or maybe when he fell into the lake? Nah, I don't think so. Maybe when he had pneumonia and he hid in the treehouse? Nah, I don't think so either. Could have been when he was eating those berries. They went out berry picking, remember? Went berry picking, and he ate those deadly nightshade berries. That could have been something. Maybe when he almost got shot by that deer hunter. Whatever his name was. Or maybe when they fell in that abandoned mine. He did fall in a mine, but it was an abandoned house with Boomer. Maybe when that black bear was coming after him. I'm just trying to put things together, kids. When an empath is a real empath, I've got a friend that is an empath. So I thought Uncle Martin was an empath, but not even close. But getting back to the story, when we were looking at this barrel with a bunch of holes in it, I had a feeling that I should turn around. And I turned around and I saw my bow-legged Sicilian Italian grandfather in a red vest, white shirt, black pants, walking bow-legged. It sounds, I wasn't laughing then, but it was a funny scene. And I saw his eyes. And I saw that somebody's gonna get a spanking. And I said, well, he doesn't have his black belt on, so I think we're pretty safe, But he must have realized that because when he went down, he didn't have it, And I wasn't smiling, but I was looking and I was saying, and bro's still admiring the holes. So I'm thinking, well, I'm waiting to see how close he's gonna get because I'm much quicker than Grandpa. And then I see he's walking by the willow tree. If anybody knows what a willow tree is, it's kind of a tree. It grows up and then it comes out like this, and it has all these long, kind of like whips. And he didn't even bother picking one. He was walking through them, and he just ripped one down. And he got the heavier side, and I saw what was coming, so I took off. Bro was still standing there, oblivious. I had to say, bro, run, but it was too late. Grandpa got to him, and he had the worst whipping that I ever saw bro get. So it's not funny. It's not funny. But well, he did do it. He did do it, and I told him not to. I told him to throw him away. Actually, I said put him back. Actually, I said get rid of him. All right, so you'd think the story there would end favorably, but what happened was his dad got home, and of course, Grandpa told Dad what happened, that I was involved also, but I had nothing to do with it. I told Grandpa, and he says, "Okay, all right, wait until your father comes home," because he was all done. He got his aggressions. Um, he got the culprit, but he said, "Yeah, that's okay. Well, we'll wait until your father comes home." So Dad comes home, and he sees all the holes. He says, "Who did it?" I said, "Bro did it." He says, "Bro did it." He says, "Well," and I told him the whole story. And then he said, "You know what he said to me? You know what he said? He said, your brother showed you some 22 bullets." I said, "Oh yeah, Dad." He told me that Grandpa said he could have anything he wanted in the drawer, and that's what he got. And he says, "You saw your brother show you the bullets." I said, "Yeah, Dad, but Grandpa said he could have them." And he said, "You you didn't take him away from your brother?" "No, Dad. I told him to go put him back, or I did tell him to get rid of him, Dad. I I had to tell the truth. I told the truth. I should have said he should have put him back in the drawer, but that would have been a lie. All right. So I did say get rid of them. I said get rid of them, and then he threw him in the 65-gallon steel drum that we have a fire all the time in, Dad. And he said, "You let your brother throw bullets into a 65-gallon drum fire. You didn't take him away from him." Uh, no, Dad, I did not. Well, son, you're gonna have to get a black belt. So there you go. There you go. That was another time that Uncle Martin got a black belt. And if you've looked at any of these stories, the rat poison, uh, I, I should have, stopped him from doing that. I shouldn't have just held it for evidence. Um, so we do, kids, we do things that when you got younger brothers or sisters, you should step in and stop them from doing anything that's could be detrimental to you or them or you. We all know that, don't we? Mm-hmm. So I'm just telling you a little story that it came out positively because I believe the angels were around us that day. And by God's grace, I'm able to tell you a story that maybe somebody would definitely not do because of the danger that would be involved in doing something goofy like that, that maybe you don't know, that you think it has to go into a gun, whereas in reality, they can go off with heat. Okay, that's pretty much the thumbnail on bullets, guys. I was gonna say, talking about Grandpa though, he had his own way since he did come from the old country, as he said. "I got off the boat and I didn't even have a nickel in my pocket." I don't know how many times I heard that. So the next, I guess, might as well throw into the next little story. It was during the same week. He had a square a pen of 4 dogs, and they were medium-sized dogs, and it was 24 by 24 cement slab, and inside was one big fat dog house that all 4 of them were apparently able to get into. And they had he came over. Grandpa says, "Come here, come here. You're gonna want to make some money." I said, "Yeah, I absolutely do. I need some more candy." And he says, "Okay," because all I was getting was a dime. It was a whole week. I did chores a whole week. I got a dime. I guess a dime went a lot further than it does now, kids. But I could only buy 20 candies, and they were gone in no time. So he shows me the cage, the squared off cement that is all caged. in a doghouse, big fat doghouse inside, and there's a bunch of poo over in one corner because dogs do that. They usually stay in one area when they do it, and it must have been piled up about up to my chest. I guess it was really, really pretty. I don't know the last time anybody got in there. And he says, perfect, perfect. That's when he came up with the idea. See, we came out. We had a steak. It was a big thing having a steak. We didn't get any meat, bro and I. I think there was only like it was two big T-bones. We didn't. Well, we got meat, but you know how you cut the meat away from the bone, and they always said, "Here, you get a bone, and your brother gets a bone." The meat that's left, that's the best part. That's what they said. I don't know. I enjoyed that much meat. I wasn't really, yeah, meat eater. I mean, I ate my share, but it is rather tasty, by the way, the meat around the bone, by the way. Um, so he brings one. He says, "You want to make some money?" Yeah, I want to make some money. Okay, I got something for you. Now I'll give you. I think he said a nickel. And I didn't know what I was going to get the nickel for. So we get out to the cage, and he has one bone. He calls the dogs, and they all, and I'm patting them. They're licking my fingers. And he said, "Don't get too close." I said, "No, these dogs are fantastic. They love me." He says, "Yeah, okay." He says, "That's why I want you. I want you to." He says, "Watch this." He throws the bone up into the pen, and you know what happens with one bone? And there's four dogs. There's a dog fight. I've never seen a passive dog try to pass up a bone. All right. So there's a massive fur everywhere, and my eyes are open, and I'm thinking, what is going on? We had like three more bones back at the house. Grandpa? Why did we got like three more bones back? I mean, we did have four T-bones. Me and bro, we got a bone. Actually, we got to eat the meat off of. I had two bones. He had two bones. We had whatever the meat was around there. Okay. It is rather tasty though when it's closer to the bone. If you're a meat eater. So he throws one in there, and I'm aghast. Why would you do this, Grandpa? Why would you do this? And he says, "Got to know who's stronger. Got to know who's the strongest." Kids, on this planet, there are people that actually think that way, whether it be dogs or even people in your family. Some people in the family, they pit people against each other because they were raised that way. They have to know who's stronger. It's a real negative. It's a very negative concept, but there are people out there that do that. And if you're in that kind of family, I suggest say, hey, you know what? You're stronger than me because that's a better person than fighting. Okay, that's all Uncle Martin's saying on that at this time. So I saw how Grandpa, and then I said, well, Grandpa, why don't you let these guys out for a run? He says, no, no, never let them out. They'll never come back. Of course they'll come back, Grandpa. He says, no, they will not come back. Don't ever do that. I said, okay, all right, I'll never do that. And then he wanted to barter and trade how much poo I was going to pick up here on a weekly basis. And I said, just to shovel all that out, I'm just saying that's a quarter. So I got a quarter off of him on the first wheelbarrow. And after that, it was pretty much 15 cents. So I was getting a whole quarter for the whole week, which was a lot of money when you're a kid in 1963, 64. I'll just tell you that much, kids. You kids are probably getting $5-10 a week for your allowance, and you're saying you want 20 probably. Well, you're just gonna have to do some more chores. That's all. So that one day when I it must have been about a week. I was into doing all this, and I thought, we got 5 acres here, and these dogs, they know me pretty well, and I'm gonna let them out. So they took off like a dart, man. They were gone. I mean, they went. There was a chicken farm that way, and that's where they went. And and I guess Grandpa came out and wanted to know where his dogs were. I said, I don't know. I was just opening up the gate, and they just got out. They just got out. I don't. Says, did you let them out? I said, well, no. I just opened the gate, and they were out. They took off that way, and you could hear them barking over that way. You can tell the barks by a dog, by the way. So he says, oh, they'll never come back. I said, yeah, they'll come back, Grandpa. They'll come back. Two. Two came back. Two never came back. He was right. Well, half right, So I guess, well, they had more room in the doghouse, and there wasn't. I was still getting the same amount of money for the amount of excrement that I was picking up. So it kind of worked out pretty well for everybody if you think about it. Yeah. So I was just trying to say, kids, that people from that have more experience. I didn't say old, but they got a whole lot more experience than you. Do think differently than you're thinking right now. So you have to give them a little leeway because that's where they were brought up. You see, you've been brought up under a different understanding, hopefully with more love and understanding, especially toward animals. Treating them well, making sure they have water all the time. Make sure they have their food and water. And these are just common sense things. And you don't tie a dog to a tree. You just don't do that. Sometimes they'll go all the way around. They'll never be able to reach their water bowl, things like that. People just don't think sometimes on the way they have their animals and how they should be treated. So that's why I'm leaving it up to you kids to see that, well, you want to always have a dog or cat with water, all right? Especially so they stay alive, all right? And I've looked over a fence before, and the guy, it was summertime. He had his dog tied to a tree, and the dog couldn't reach the water, all right? So I jumped the fence. Now, this is like 7 years ago. I can still jump the fence. But I jumped the fence, and I got the dog water. And I think he knocked on my door and said, did you give my dog water? I said, yeah. As a matter of fact, I did. And he said, don't you ever jump in my yard again. I said, okay, I won't. So the next time I looked over the fence, I had to call the ESPCA. And they come in and they kind of look around and they want to see how the animals are being treated. That's all. So that was taken care of. So you don't always have to jump somebody's fence to do it. I did something wrong. I did something negative. I thought it was positive, but it was negative. I shouldn't have jumped over somebody's property, see? Even though I thought it was a positive thing, it was actually a negative thing. I could have been, well, depending on where you are, people have the right to do whatever they want when you get on their property. So that's why you'd want to call first before you take the law into your own hands, as they say. Okay, so that's about all I got for you on bullets and how to treat your animals. You want to be positive with your animals, or give your animal to somebody else that can handle them. All right, that's all. Nobody says you have to have an animal, kids. Um, Other than that, that's the true stories for this Sunday. Excuse me, that Uncle Martin's got for you. And I promise that next Sunday I'll have another true story for you that hopefully we can all learn by. And go forward with victory. So until I see you again, aloha, and may you be well with peace